Welcome to the Sisterhood Evening Talk Show. What are we about? We want to open a dialogue, having a dining and kitchen table, friend to friend talk, and we hope you feel empowered, inspired, and can breathe through the pains and anguish this pandemic, this chaotic world has caused in the last few months. We aim to cover every topic our Black community is undergoing, some of which you might know already, but we're going to bring some light to them. If it is important to us, for sure, we are going to talk about it. We'll give you our opinion and our views as we see it. My name is Madeline Johnson. Let us welcome our fabulous ladies to the stage. They've introduced themselves before. I'm just going to shout out to them. Miss Oretha, Miss Midi, Miss Monica, Miss Ogechi, and Miss Tasha. Thank you, ladies, for hanging out with me again.
Pleasure.
We hope to have as much fun as possible. One thing I want to say to the viewer is do feel free to share your experiences about all the subject matters that we'll be talking about. Remember, we are all about empowering one another. We're not here to judge no one. We're expecting you to join with talk with an open mind, have an open view. And please take no offense if someone slips, because we're in this together. We are all trying to make sense about what is happening around us. For sure, some people are losing their job. We have police incidents all across the world. People are rioting, people are protesting, okay? But let us appreciate the views and passion this panel will exercise during this show. Don't judge us by the few moments of conversation that we're going to have. Let us be strong and soberly minded. Don't assume or be obsessed over how we feel or express our views, because together we stand, divided we fall. So if you can permit me during the show to answer some of your questions, if you do have a question, please add it to the chat box or in the comments. We'll try to answer as many as possible. If we cannot answer them today, we'll answer them in the coming show. Despite what is going on across the globe, I want us to stay focused, because today our conversation is a very passionate topic to all of us on this panel, and that topic is mental health. So my question to you ladies, why are Black people more likely to be sectioned than other race?
Most of the time it's like due to lack of understanding of our cultural mannerisms, in the way of such, even a simple thing of like, because we're more energetic and the way our tone of voice, and we get a lot more passionate. And I don't know, sometimes they say it's like anger and they say it's like symptoms of mental illness, but it's not. It's just the way we are. So we just express our way, like ourselves, in a completely different way. So they just assume straight away they're mentally ill, and then they just section you and end up giving you tablets to calm you down and everything like that.
Of course, the tablet usually goes wrong, isn't it? Yeah, gets the better side of us.
Yeah, side effect.
I think they find a lot of Black male strong, with a lot of opinion, and when they express themselves, people find them aggressive, intimidating, and if they try to resist because they feel whatever is happening is unjust, and then they call the police, and then the police take them into custody, and whilst they're there, when they're expressing themselves, they think, well, okay, we need to take you to hospital. And when they do go to hospital, before they say anything, they want to give them section 136. And 136 means the forcefully giving you a mental health act, which is either section 2 or section 3. And then the next thing you know, you've been placed into a secluded ward where you have high risk mental health people, and they start giving you medication. And once you start to get those medications, it then manifests. You start to have hallucinations, you start to have all the psychosis. This is the reason why we need to empower our young people.
And also they have to understand, they have to know all of these strategic diagnoses, because as people in the past, whether they're activists or whether they're academia, they've talked about the same thing. All of these seems to be drawing back to the Black race. It's becoming systematic for the Black race. And one of the thing I want to also point out is about research done by a blogger, stroke radio presenter, Keith Dubb. He said that Black people in general are 17 times more likely to be diagnosed with a serious mental health issue than their white counterparts, and even than other races. So for me, I want to ask you ladies, why do you think that is? Why are 17% of our brothers and sisters more likely to be sectioned with mental health?
Well, I have another figure here that says the rate at which Black men and women are being sectioned is 306.8 per 100,000 people, and the white counterpart is 72.9. So there is a big disparity there.
Right. And what are some of the issue, the cause. For us, let's step back a bit, because to every issue, to every problem, every issue, there's a root. What do you think the root issue is in our community, in the Black community around us? What is the root?
Most times it's trauma. Trauma in the sense that some kids have been rejected, felt abandoned, growing up in homes where they've not been loved. And sometimes as well, the parent has had traumatic experience growing up, and they've experienced violence. And these children growing up have not been able to give opinion, to talk about it. They haven't had any psychological therapy to address these issues. And then they grow up perhaps feeling bitter about seeing their mom or dad fighting each other, arguing, and then they go to school and, kids play up, and then they give them a label. They're suffering with something. And it starts from there. They nurture them into these mental health issues.
Could it then be that because, again, it's systematic, so my question can be a rhetorical one itself, but could it be that they deliberately do all of these because we are of another race, and also because they just enjoy seeing us suffer?
I would say both.
They just want to keep us down, isn't it? They want to they don't want us to empower ourselves, so they want to keep you down. So they just give us like that whole poverty mindset as well. Whereas then we're just like constantly thinking, you don't think that you can actually have that wealthy life and all that big ideas and decent food, so they keep you down. So then you kind of like at that level where you're beneath them, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a bit of both, because it's like the system is being designed to suppress us, and a lot of people aren't really, in the Black community, we're not educated about the mental illness that's been affecting us, because the way it's being designed is to make us to become mentally disabled, you understand? So you won't be able to, they would always label you, to be honest. And that's what they enjoy doing, sticking a label on you. And when you try to put up a fight and let them know that that's not what's happening, they section you and you end up in a mental home, and then the side effects, and it can become a rippling effect, like the domino effect. Everything starts to tumble, and you're not getting the right help.
No, I was just going to add that, historically, we've always been told or seen as this kind of like powerful, strong being almost. So it's almost like our pain is not really acknowledged or identified as needing that kind of help. So it's always seen as like, if a child at school acts out, it's not seen as, oh, maybe they are dealing with something, or maybe they may need counseling or therapy. Instead, it's almost seen as like they are problematic, or they are chaotic, or do you know what I mean? So I feel like that also kind of plays a role in why we are not diagnosed and given the right treatments that we may need, which can also add to us not knowing that we needed it earlier on, and then it carries us on into like adulthood.
But also you have, it can be genetically passed on to the children as well, because you may have a parent who suffered with bipolar or some other mental illness, and then it can be passed on through the genes to the child. Or also you have parents that are having the pregnancy and going through trauma or depression or whatever, anxiety, and the chemicals in the hormones pass on to the child, and then later on in life it would affect the child, and these things are not being addressed within our community. This is what we're lacking. We need our own people to do our own research, rather than you having others doing the research for us. And get to the bottom of it.
But what about, go back to the conversation which we'll be talking about very shortly, racism. It goes about to not being able to have the conversation within our community. We're embarrassed to say something is wrong with us. We're embarrassed to ask. We're embarrassed to seek support. Am I right to draw that conclusion?
Absolutely, because I think it's stigmatized. A lot of people think that, if you say that you have a problem, a mental problem, you're gonna be stigmatized, and a lot of people don't want that. They that's why I wouldn't open up and say they need help. But they have to learn to speak up and go and ask for help, because the help is out there. They just need to say that they need it.
And this is one of the reasons why, ladies, we come together to have all of these conversations that some of our folks don't want to have. Because if we start the conversation, we're not ashamed to talk about the conversation. We acknowledge them, because with everything you got to acknowledge that is happening. Hopefully, this show would enlighten other people people and empower people to start having a conversation outside of the show scope. So at home with friends and so on and so forth. So another thing that I also want to look at under this mental health issue is some of the things that are impacting. So we've looked at kind of the cradle part of or the root cause of it. But what are the other impacts, which again fall under systemization, can we identify that could lead to someone mentally ill? Because not everybody was born crazy or is born crazy. You know, some people, circumstances, you know, happen. Life happens.
Yeah, you have abusive relationship that you can come from. You can have childhood traumas. You know, this is a very broad subject, and there's so many contributing factors that can create this.
Can we highlight some of them just for the viewers to at least be able, because what I don't want us to do is shy away from the topic. We have to talk about it. We've got to be bold and talk about it. So that there are many people who are watching all around the world. We just, you know, put it in a nice parcel. It might not help them. So what are some of the impacts? Let's get down. Let's get our hands dirty a little bit.
Mental health can happen to the best of us.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes children have been sexually abused by their own family.
Absolutely.
You know, granddad, uncle, and how do you deal with those kind of things? Because you know it's not normal, and you don't want to talk about it because granddad is your granddad. You know? And those manifestation of guilt, you feel guilty because you're not able to talk about it, and you grow up hating everybody because you can't talk about it. Your mom and dad don't know what is in your head, and they start instead of giving you some psychological talk therapy, they take you to hospital, they start to give you medication. I think what we need to look for little signs of a child isolating themselves, situations where they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to play with other people, where they don't sleep at night, and even as a young child they're wet in the bed. But those are the things we should be looking into from those younger age, and then try to pick them to see what's happening in this child's life.
Also, you have bereavement. You have bereavement as well, you know, poverty, social disadvantages. It's a lot that contributes to it.
Let's take the social disadvantages, because that will throw us nicely into the next topic. Social disadvantage, what do you mean by that?
Inequality, for instance.
Give me an example.
Okay, you have for instance, disparities. Within the society, you have, let's say, you want to contribute. The government has contributed a budget to help out within the community. However, it only goes to a particular section of people, but it doesn't come to you. It doesn't come to the lower class, for instance. Like, we're forever being pushed behind and being affected by the inequality that's going on within the system. So social disadvantage, it needs to be addressed, and we need to do something about that.
I think lack of job, lack of training, lack of facilities, you know, deprivation, bad housing, a lot of family are overcrowded.
That's right.
You know, all those things, they cause a lot of mental torment.
Your views, ladies. Tasha.
I think also it's like just the little bits about stress of life as well. Just like, and like the fact that most families, they're having to work several jobs just to keep that going. So then that's putting a lot of strain, and then the children are seeing all that pressure that their families are going through. And that just causes a lot of stress, isn't it? And anger as well at the whole situation.
Another thing I wanted to add as well to all of this conversation, which are relevant and kind of hits in the core. Again, as Oitha said, it's a big subject, but somehow we have to strip it naked, so to speak. The other part for me is the social deprivation we were talking about, the environment. Maybe you reference housing. You give someone a rundown place, or you categorize people and shove them all in a particular place, for sure you're going to have this sort of stuff. But the other part of the mental health issue is kids who are from single parent, who cannot cope. Single parents can be formed by or caused by so many things. Either one of the parent died, divorced, separated, and so on and so forth, or oftentimes in prison, because again, the system designed it that way. Lock the father up and then mess up the entire family. But all of these are causing suicidal rates as well, because it was just I think think it was just the other day, I was watching a program where a boy aged 10 years old, ladies, committed suicide in America, 10 years old, because he was bullied. And he always come home and talk to the mom, but he never told the mom that bullied, being racially abused at school by his colleagues. And one particular day, it took his life. And the sad thing of all is that woman has been wanting to have kids for so long, and that's the only child she was able to conceive in her 40s.
That is sad.
And then somebody took his life, or forced him to take his life with this sort of stuff, with mental illness. The mom could not believe it, because she was in denial, to say, my son could not be suffering mental illness because he comes on and talks to me all the time. So again, I want to ask the parents, when your kids are coming home, talking to you, are they telling you the whole truth?
And are we really listening?
Are you listening?
Yeah.
But they don't always open up.
Peer pressure as well. Peer pressure.
Yeah. But the thing is, they don't always open up to you. I mean, can I give an example of my daughter?
Of course, go ahead. Yeah, that's the edifying other people. We're helping them.
Yeah, okay. She was being bullied in school as well. I spoke to the teachers, nothing was done about it. I went again, I spoke to the teacher, nothing was done about it. And then my daughter, she loved school. She'd enjoy attending school. And all of a sudden, she started to, every time I wake her up in the morning to get ready for school, she would say to me, she would hold on to her stomach and say, Mommy, my belly hurts. This happened one day, 2 days, 3 days. And I noticed as soon as the time passed for school to start, she's fine. We were home and she's fine for the rest of the day. But that period of getting ready for school, she complains, she cries out for stomach ache. So I took her to the doctor. The doctor said she's fine. They'd done all the tests and everything. One day we were out shopping and she gave me a note. And in the note, it explained that she's been bullied. This is what's been happening in school. So this has been going on for a long time, unknowing to myself. Normally we discuss anything, but for some reason she kept that to herself. And what I did, I went to the school, and well, to be honest, I approached the kids, because I've been explaining to the teachers. The teachers didn't do anything for so long. So I approached the kids and I talked to them like a mother. Tell me what exactly my daughter is doing to you that make you feel you need to bully her, or what is she doing to you that you don't like? I need to know so we can get to the bottom of it. But they didn't, the kids, they ran off, they didn't say anything. And the following day, the school called me and asked me what happened. I explained to them, but they took the kids' side. They said I shouldn't have approached the kids. So I thought to myself, well, I came to you several times before and you did nothing about it. So it left me no choice but to take matters into my own hands. And that's what I did. And do you know, I got results. The very next day my daughter went to school, the kids wanted to be her friend. We got instant results.
Yeah.
Because again, Oretha, hurting people hurts other people. Maybe these kids, and this is what the school will not do. Were they black kids?
No, one of them was biracial and the other one was white.
Okay.
However, I got to find out that they were having issues at home, within their home. So at school, that's their only way of, that's probably their coping mechanism to lash out at other kids. And they chose my daughter to do it too.
The viewers, again, I hope all of these are helping you just to put into perspective. This subject is mammoth, but we want to put everything into perspective. This conversation is not going to stop. This conversation is going to go on because it links back into everything we do, into our very being. And this is going back to over 500 years ago. So there is a root there, which we will touch upon. But for the benefit of time, and another thing I want us to look at that is associated with mental health. We've looked at the roots of mental health, but other kind of byproducts of mental health is workplace pressure. How do you guys feel about it? And what's your views? People going to work, being bullied or undermined or whatever the case might be. Have you got any views on that?
That can have an impact as well. If you have a lazy boss that wants you to do their job, when you fail to do their job and say, well, okay, you know what, I've done what I'm supposed to be doing, and then they will start to watch time, start to, just start to give you hard time. And you reach a point where some people come to work and they just feel ill, and then they would go on long-term sickness. And during that period, then they start to take procedures on you because of your sickness record and all that. And then they would have like several people isolating you, making you feel like you're a loner at work. Those things, and it can cause serious mental health. I know 2 years ago, a lady I know died from being bullied, and she was a manager. She died. She became so unwell to the point where she died.
Another thing with the work related is we're not only known as being strong, we're also known as being ambitious. I think this is where the systematic racism comes in as well. Institutionalization comes in. You have an ambitious black woman or brother, okay, a man. They have done all their education as the system has set up. Oh, you cannot be anybody if you don't have an education. They've gone through the milestone. They've had their master's degrees. They have their PhDs. They have whatever comes after that. And then they go to the workplace and get paid peanuts, being undervalued or being sold short. Or oftentimes they will do jobs and the bosses takes all the credit. The time for pay rise, they will not receive pay rise or even bonus. An excuse will be given or granted. What is your take on us being ambitious? Does that mean we should stop being ambitious so that we don't become a victim? Or is there a better way to fight? Again, we have to think how other people think, because the reason why I'm posing this question the way I'm posing it in a systematic way is because you do have some of us who are working in this environment. We say, at least it's better for us, we have a job. I'm just going to tone down. I'm going to conform. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And before you know it, they lose themselves. And before you know it, they go into depression state because they cannot achieve 20 years down the line. They cannot achieve what they intended to achieve because they play down. What would you say to somebody who is in the workplace, ambitious, once upon a time, finish A-levels, bachelor's degree or master's degree, go into the workplace, and then 20 years later, they look all beaten up? What would you say to them? How would you empower them?
I would say, look elsewhere. Find another job. Don't stay somewhere where you feel that you're not being appreciated, you're not being commended for your ability. You need to look elsewhere.
Is there a mental shift that the individual should do as well? Because let's face it, you are the only denominator in this race. Everywhere you go, you have this color. So if you go to the next one, maybe they might give you £2,000 more, but then you go back to the same
vicious cycle.
The rat race, and then you go nowhere.
What I would say, if you go to a new employment, you start as you want to continue. That's where you put your foot down. Don't be taken for a ride.
Voice your views as well. If you feel like you're being mistreated, then you've got to just speak up, or better yet, start something on your own. That's the best way. Start your own business. Do something creative. Do something on your own. That way you can work as hard as you want and you've got it at a fair kind of level.
The research done was stated on mental health and Black people is that we are 6 times more likely to be an inpatient or section to a mental health. Just a trip to your doctor would cause you might be ending somewhere other than home. When I was doing this research, I thought to myself, could this be the reason why so many Black people are dying all across the world with COVID? Because of the mistrust. They don't want to be misdiagnosed.
Yeah, very likely.
Because if you go in with headache and then somebody tell you you're crazy, that's a far apart diagnose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if now you're telling me there's COVID, why should I be rushing to go and do a check? So you can tell me I'm contaminated and you give me some injection that I don't even know existed. So you see all of the knock-on effect the system is causing. And then people, even though some of them might have COVID or might have the mental health, because they're afraid to go to somebody who is professional to help them, they suffer. As Midi said, some of them died. We don't understand why.
Trust in the system has been damaged so much that we have very little trust. It's almost like if there's any other story that may paint another picture of, if you go, this is what would happen, we're likely to say, well, I don't want to be part of that, so I'm not going to go, even though you need the help. So I would say maybe that's why a lot of us are more cautious in going, because right now as well, a lot of us are scared to go and be tested for COVID, because there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there that if you go and get tested, you will end up with COVID. So even though we don't really have, so even though we don't really have any facts on that, because we've heard that, and then we are hearing a lot of statistics of Black people are dying at this amount of rate so it's almost like we are maybe not ignorantly, but we are almost choosing not to go and seek the help that we need because we lack lack a lot of trust, but that trust was broken a long time ago. And it continuously being proven that you shouldn't trust, be it in education, in even in the workplace, like you said, at the GP, at the hospital. There's a lot of lack of trust there, so we don't even feel like we're heard. Even if we are in pain and we seek advice and help and we say, I'm in pain, I need this, it's always pushed aside, brushed aside. It's almost like we have very little trust, although I shouldn't really generalize, but I do feel like
one of the questions I've been asking myself is that why is it in the West, in like for instance the UK and America, the rate of deaths among the Black community is so high, but yet still around the Caribbean and the African continent the rate isn't that high, and it's the same COVID. Why is it?
they've tried to give like factors on it. Might be because houses are overcrowded, or maybe we tend to have more diabetes and high blood pressure, but even that doesn't balance out. Like you said, well, if it's Black people in the Caribbean, we also
They're
like
not the same.
have diabetes and high blood pressure
Extended families living together and all that.
But you have
exactly.
that. You have that in the other Black countries.
Exactly.
What I believe has happened, everyone that's gone into hospital, they've put them in the category of having COVID.
Yes.
Not everybody has had COVID, but if you go into hospital, you end up having the virus in there. Because I know my friend's dad went into hospital with a chest infection. 2-3 days in hospital, it became a COVID plus, positive. Next thing, he died.
And we hear a lot of those stories. I've had a lot of I know actually the same thing. So it's
so that's why a lot of people are scared to go into hospital these days or to go and see their GP, because you end up with one thing that you didn't plan for.
And then we are suffering in silence, which again contributes to our mental health and our stress.
Brings me to ask this question on mental health. How many women are sectioned? I just want to streamline it. I'm not actually picking on men, but our brothers oftentimes don't talk. They act all macho when they're going through stress. So this is the reason why I am referring this question to the brothers and not so much to the sisters, because our brothers they like to act all tough. So for mental health, what does it mean to be a Black man in the West?
I asked a few Black boys these same questions, and what I got from what they've all answered is that they know that they are the target. They know, they wake up every day and they know, I am designed to be the target, to be either arrested, to be mistreated, to be looked at as a thief, to be looked at as so forth and so on. So from teenage years, they've said that they are very aware of that. When they do try to kind of do better for their lives, they don't receive that kind of help that they need that other people will receive. So I would kind of be a little bit more specific, like for instance, the African community, our parents who have been here, let's say they've been here for 40 years or 30 years or 20 years, there's that kind of generational gap where my mom and she's schooled different to me. So when I needed certain help, she wasn't aware and she didn't understand the culture here, the society here. So at times, even when I wanted to speak to her and say, Mom, I'm going through this at school or this is happening at work, she doesn't have a clue how that works. And then that ends up leaving you on your own to deal with it. But in terms of men, a lot of them do feel like they are seen as the Black man is meant to be the strong man. So you asking for help shows that sign of weakness. And so they feel like they are not afforded that luxury to say, yes, I am a Black man, I am a man, and I'm a Black person, yes, but I also am struggling. And they feel like they are not able to even go out and ask for the help because that takes away their image. And I guess that's part of what they perceive themselves to be. And they fall in the trap. They don't even know where to go to get help in the first. You know what I mean? They don't even know. A few of them have said that they did not have a father in the home. So they didn't have that kind of guidance from a male. But I would say that some as well, maybe because of the way Black people are in the UK, how we've even come to be here and then how we are seen here, even those of us who came later restaurant, the way we are seen, we are not really a part of the society. We're not seen as people, if that makes sense. So it's almost like we always feel like we're battling to sort of be equal, but we know we're not. So men are even battling even more because they are seen as a threat rather than, oh, that's a man, that's a young man, let him go on training, help him get into jobs, or, you know, if he doesn't know how to write a CV, support him. Don't look at it as, oh, this, that, and the third, or not stereotype. But most of the time, I feel like that's what tends to happen. And so I feel like they don't receive the needed training. Like, okay, so I don't know. I mean, even working in HR, if I'm interviewing a black man, for instance, for like entry job, most of them would come in at, say, the age of 16. And even though this is, I guess, supposed to be common, they may not even be aware that if you're coming in for a job interview, wear a shirt, dress this way, dress that way. And looking at it, I can see like my little cousin or my little brother, and I can see past that to a certain point. But I can also see the other people in the panel who are doing it. And I'm just thinking, oh, based on the way that they're dressed, they're going to be judged. Based on the way that they may speak, they're going to be judged. And they forget that they come from other cultures, so they will have a certain accent, or they'll have a certain twang, which may not fit in this image of the ideal candidate. So
that's so true.
And I also think it's because nobody wants to talk about it, because let's face it, the diversity training has been in the workplace and in the UK, it's been introduced in the UK for a very long time, over 10 years ago. But for the benefit of our community, guys, one thing you have to appreciate is take all of these topics that we've covered, all of these root causes and that we've looked at. It might not change overnight, but if you can help be your brother's keeper, help the next person. It's community like this, conversations like this that we have and that would help. So I would encourage you, the viewers, not to shy away from mental health conversation. We need to talk about it. We cannot shy away from it because it's a vast topic. We're going to continue a coming week on mental health, but we're going to link mental health with relationship because we have a knock-on effect, because that's our being. Without a stable mind, everything around you fails or falls. So this conversation is just the beginning of it. I want us to go into Black Lives Matter, just for us to touch on it and also amplify it when we meet again. So for Black Lives Matter, I want to know from you ladies, what are your views about this movement? How can we sustain it? Do you think it would last? Do you think it would make a big difference in our community? And how would our community embrace it and use it to empower themselves?
I think it's a good idea, and I think it's already making changes, you know, and it's important for us to carry on in this way and don't just do it for a short period of time. It's something that we have to continuously do, you know, and until we get answers, because like we mentioned before, systemic racism, that needs to be addressed. It's important. We need to make changes because the way that we've been treated is unfairly. It's not right, you know, and that creates mental issues as well. This racism that we're going through, you know. So I think it's a very good thing that we have in this march, and the Black lives do matter. It's important.
You know, I'll just add, I feel like for a long time, we ourselves have forgotten, or even we didn't know that we mattered. And I feel like this movement has almost ignited like that, you know, you do matter, and how you feel does mean something. And yes, you felt this way for a long time and you've tried to speak about it and people were not there to hear you, and you felt like, is it just me? Am I going crazy? But in actual fact, it's not just you. There's a lot of people going through the same thing. But this movement has allowed us to have that platform for us to be able to actually start to have these conversations that we actually need to have. Like, for instance, I feel like the African community and the Caribbean community, I feel like we've been merging a lot closer. Maybe it has been happening for the past maybe 20, 30, 40 years, but I feel like in the past 10 years, a lot more of us have made it a point to get to know each other and become more like one, and actually recognize we are Black people and we all share the same experiences. You know what I mean? So I feel like this movement kind of reignited that love for each other and that trust for each. When I had my shop, it was like for a long time, Black people would say, I'm not shopping at a Black shop because Black people don't have quality, or black people overpriced, so forth and so on. But when I had my shop, I was able to now explain to people the reason why we do is because whichever industry you're in, most of the time it's very hard for you as a small business owner to enter into the market to be able to get things at the prices that a bigger or another ethnic group is able. So yes, you will find that us black people might charge more money, but that's because we need more of you to support us for us to be able to bring down the prices.
Yes.
And
that's another big conversation we have to cover as well, how we support each other. Again, going back to be my brother's keeper, I think we are lacking a lot of stuff in our community. When you compare our community with other communities that we know about, which I would not name, the collaboration is much more stronger. They have representation and representatives in many places, at the workplace, at parliament. We not in many places. I know there are, black doctors, there are black lawyers, there are black MPs and so on, but we are not well represented. I think for me, that is the biggest issue, because if you're not well represented, somebody else is making decision on your behalf and for you. And when
that is done by design, though. That's how it was done. It was done that we don't trust each other. It was done that way. So therefore, it's really hard for us to come together, because it was done where we were all sectioned in this group. You were this type of black, or you were that type of black, and you're
different
better
shades
than
of blacks.
Yes, you're better, or you come from this part, so you're better. Like the African and the Caribbean were always put against each other for a long, long time, and we were almost, I feel like, purposely kept apart. So then we always had that friction without really knowing why. Do you know what I mean? We're really having conversations with each other. But I feel like the Black Lives Matter movement is bridging that gap.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like maybe we've been traveling a lot more than ever before. I don't know whether because the flight prices have come down in the past maybe 5-10 years, that we have been traveling a lot more, so we have been able to meet each other a lot more and actually say, oh wow, we're actually the same. We eat the same things, we share the same family, I don't know, how can I put it, like common things that we do is very similar. So we're actually realizing we are actually one, and we don't know why we always felt like, oh no, you're African, that means you guys eat animals, or you're dirty. Oh no, you're Caribbean, that means you guys don't look after your kids, or you guys, all these stereotypes. We actually beginning to learn each other. I don't know.
It beats more togetherness.
Togetherness, exactly. Basically, what our focal point is, we've identified the issues. So in the next episode, we are going to talk on how we can start addressing the issue. Thank you guys for joining me again. It's been a pleasant conversation. Folks, there you have it. And we hope you enjoyed this show, and we hope and pray that you keep safe and well. We will for sure continue this conversation, this talk on mental illness within our community. We are going to interrelate the mental illness with relationship. We're going to talk about the who, what, when, where, how, and why it's affecting our community and the impact it is having in our community. For the time being, we want to thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time. And we're back online on Friday, the 10th of July, same time, 8:30. And for sure, it's a intricate conversation, but we'll be back online on Facebook as well as on Zoom. So we thank you for joining, and we thank you ladies for your feedback. If you do have any comments, again, please feel free to drop us a line and we'll do our best to answer them. Ladies, have you got something final to say?
Also, thank you for watching, and we hope that what we had to say was helpful and useful to you guys. So let us know, drop us a message, and hopefully we'll get the time to reply to you. Thank you so much.
And it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. We don't want to go too hard. We get in there slowly.
In 2 weeks time, I was just going to add, we are not experts, so we are just sharing our own views. So, just be mindful that we are just speaking from our own shared experiences.
Do seek advice. For sure, we're going to have specialists who will be talking on various topics in the coming months. So you can get it from a professional views. Again, this is a kitchen conversation, something you can sit down and talk with your friends, talk at the barber shop, at the saloon. This is what we're here about. We're interacting, starting the conversation, because we need to talk about what really matters to us. Because if we are ashamed to talk about what really matters to us, for sure, things are not going to change. Whether there's a Black Lives Matter or not, it will still remain the same until we start talking.
That's right.
Start identifying it, and then addressing the root cause. And then we will be inspired enough to start being a representation for our community in various various boroughs in various locations that we live, because you got to start the conversation, because if even you want to go into politics, you got to have the conversation. So this is the best place to have that conversation where my queens are here, we're talking about it. You might have a light bulb moment, you might have a new idea other than us, you might even have more evidences that we have not gathered. So this is what we're here for, to start the conversation. Let's talk about it, not to shy away from it.
You have to remember they're not alone in this.
Exactly. And you're not alone. Yes. That's the thing. Yeah. We have to learn to talk, not to be too secretive. It's not a secret society, you see.
No.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through something, so speak up when you need help. There's help out there.
A problem shared is a problem halved.
Absolutely.
I'm going to end it right there, because that's the perfect say. Well, thank you, ladies. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.